right. I think that before we share as a group, I would like for you to talk to each other. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and let me see the math here. Okay, should be the same number as yesterday. I always love breakout rooms because it's always fun to see who meets who. Include co-hosts, no. Okay, all right, so this time we're going to do another 5 minutes and you're just going to share with each other what your vision is, and please take 2.5 minutes each, share the time equally, and I hope you meet somebody fun. All right, see you in 5 minutes. Did you meet anybody fun? Good. Nice. So let's hear some of your visions. Oh, I can't wait for what you're going to do in 2023. I'm going to start with Laurie D. Oh my God.
You're funny. All right, well, I'm going to work with you learning how to raise $100,000 for my first feature film.
Yeah.
That's the big goal right there. And I also said that I'd like to work to build the foundation for my production company for film business, meaning thinking of how many films do I want to produce a year, and I wanted to ask you, what should the genre be? Can you do different genres, or should you try to key in on one? And can you do other things like shorts and streaming and theatrical, or should I stay focused on like one format, one platform? I don't know.
Do you want to hear the nice answer, or would you?
I want your brutal honesty.
Okay, there's just no reason to be making shorts.
Right, okay. That's what I thought you'd say, but I just thought I'd throw it.
You've made a feature, you're done.
Okay.
You know, unless, you know, Matthew McConaughey says he wants to be in your short film, you know, there's just
yeah. Okay. Great.
And and then the thing about genres is very interesting. You know, I had a client years ago who was a writer, and he would never change the opinion that it was a really good idea for him to write in every single genre. So he had a horror film, and he had a comedy, and he had actually, I don't think he had a comedy. Comedy is a bit different. Was I telling you all this the other day? I'm not a big comedy fan, but when I write comedy. Did I tell you that? That's kind of weird. But anyway, so and I think particularly for writers, it's useful as an exercise if you're just being a student. But if you want to get into the industry, I think you have to really focus, because the way the industry works is very much about relationships. So the relationship, if you are a thriller writer, you'll build relationships with thriller producers and thriller directors and all of that kind of thing. And you'll start to meet everybody in the business. So imagine, for example, if you're going to make faith-based films, you know, you can see that you'll start meeting Christian producers and Christian actors and Christian, right? So the more that you kind of focus, the more that you're going to expand in a particular network, right? And for documentary filmmakers, it's a very similar thing, because if you are making a film that deals with the with climate change, you know, you're going to go to all these funders and you're going to start building relationships with funders who fund climate change. And so then if your next film is about homelessness, now you're going to have to start all over again with a whole different set of funders. But I wouldn't want that to have you change your mind about what film you're going to make. I'm just saying it's just about the way it works.
Right.
But I think that a lot of times people are afraid of making a film in a certain genre because they think, oh, I'm going to be pigeonholed. And I don't believe in that. Not until you get, way down the road in your career. So do what you want. I'm not a fan of web series because I don't see a way to make money yet.
Right.
That may change. I'm watching for that to change, but I don't see it yet. What else did you have on your list?
I just had a couple other things. Just read a lot of scripts, watch a lot of pitches for practice, and practice on the mirror and on camera, and network. So I assume that's going to be my life for a year.
I really think you would do well to read a lot of log lines.
Yeah.
And just start to go from the way the industry thinks. The industry, I always say this, filmmaker, if I could add up the complexity in this room, it's a lot. The industry is super simple. The industry is super simple. And this is the way the industry thinks. Oh, I can sell that. And so filmmakers will say, I'll say to a filmmaker, so what genre is your film? And they'll say, well, it's a romantic comedy and it has sci-fi elements to it, but then it's an action comedy, and they're going on. And all the industry is going is like, I can't sell that. That's, oh, I can't sell that next. It's not, they don't mean, I don't think anybody means to be mean, but they just, I don't know what to do with that. I had a client who, before she met me, had raised $1.2 million to make a movie. And when she told me the genre, I knew it couldn't make any money. I think it was a romantic comedy, sci-fi, something. And as soon as she said it, I was like, oh my God, I don't think they made $100,000 with the film. It had names in it and everything. But all she told me was the genre. And I was already like, oh my God, that sounds like a mess. The film was atrocious. But how could it not be, kind of thing, I hope nobody is like totally attached to their romantic sci-fi action drama. Well, we'll have to talk. All right, so great. All right, who else would like to share their vision for 2023? What are you doing in 2023? Yay, Mark.
John Mark or Mark Gordon?
Mark.
Okay.
Well, why don't you go, John? Oh, there he is.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't unmute it. So my goal for the year is to get my first feature, Awakening in Taos, onto PBS National, and that my deadline for delivery is January 30th, and the target date for the first broadcast is March 1st, Women's History Month. I want to write the script for my feature romantic period piece, Edge of Taos Desert, and I need to raise $174,000 for my second feature film, Man of Many Colors. I want to edit a rough assembly of Man of Many Colors and get to 6 to 8 paid gigs from nonprofits with a mission. And I also want to build up my Bay Area film business.
Very interesting.
I want to find editors in New Mexico and California to affordably get things done. And I want to improve relations with my daughter and grandsons.
That's not a film goal.
No, I'm going to shoot the whole thing. And how do you feel about Grandpa?
I was going to say, I assume that you're going to put them to work on the movie. So Very nice, very nice.
No, maybe not.
Very nice. All of those things are great. The I feel as though somehow getting Awakening in Taos onto PBS needs to somehow come lower down in the list, you know, and I think you've got far enough. You're very close to completing your fundraising goal for that. You've done so much work. I'm hoping that it can come way down on the list beginning like January the 1st.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a way that, you know, for the last 2 weeks of December, you could just X out PBS, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to get it off the list, and
So that you could start January the 1st and be like, I'm just working on my next feature.
oh, that would be great. I'll sign up for that.
Yes, excellent. We all heard it here. Mark is going to finish Awakening in Taos PBS blah, 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 in 2022.
Yay.
Now everybody's going to check on you and give you a hard time.
I'll look forward to your calls and letters.
All right, John Mark.
I might have gotten too specific, but here we go. Work with Joanne.
Wait, John Mark.
Yes.
No, we don't start with putting ourselves down.
Oh.
Okay. It wasn't too bad.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Work with Joanne. Funding for my first feature with a possible 3-picture funding from the Goldwasser Hararis. Pitch meeting with
the Goldwasser Hararis.
The Goldwasser Hararis.
Who are they?
They're my friends.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, so I've been trying to meet with my friend for a minute now. She contacted me. I did not contact her. So when I finally I'm going to broach the idea and ask if I can present. Yeah. So that's going to happen. And then I also have another friend that I want to do that with. The pitch meeting complete with the pitch deck, script in 2 to 3 weeks. A director, editor, cinematographer, somebody who can kind of like do 3 jobs maybe, or at least 2, break that up. Locations in Pacific Grove. I already spoke to somebody and they said, I know the mayor. Let's go have lunch with the mayor. Lead actress from LA, totally doable. Supporting SAG actors from my friend network, totally doable up here. Background actors, friends and family. I've done that before, totally doable. Equipment rentals if need be, smallish crew, a timeline for the film to be filmed like September or October. Deliver a rough cut and have a little fun rough cut premiere event around December. Deliver it to distributors by January 2024. That is if there's a fun little distribution deal involved. And then on top of it all, a new season of my web series Germaphobe's Guide. So
yes,
ambitious.
No. Oh, to me, I thought that sounded normal.
Good.
The only thing I was going to change was, so you said you're going to be working with me. So with my clients, we go for 12 months. So you don't need to wait till January. You know, it's December, we got 12 months. What I would suggest though, and I've given this line to a couple of people, it's worked really, really well. When they had people who would potentially be investors in their film, I would actually not go and pitch to them. I would actually go and tell them, I'm about to work with somebody who's going to make sure that this film is going to get made and get global distribution. And that's what I would go and talk to them about. And I did this twice with people because you know, I've told you, I've met filmmakers who've lost a lot of money, you know, for themselves and for their investors. And so a couple of times I've said to people, who were talking about working with me, would you be willing to talk to those investors again? But they felt really bad because they had lost a lot of money. And so in both cases, you know, they went back to their investors and they said, I'm going to be working with somebody who's really going to show me the business piece, and would you be willing to invest? And they said yes.
Okay.
But they just were really thrilled that they knew that they had the guidance and they weren't just going to try it again by themselves. So it's just one line.
I wrote it down.
Fabulous. That sounds great. And I love the mayor of Pacific Grove. I have this whole thing, method that I call the local, now I've forgotten what I call my thing. What do I call it? The local, anyway, it's like the benefit of being in the small town benefit, you know, and exactly that, you know, you can talk to the mayor and then the mayor can talk to everybody and you get everybody involved. So that's great. All right, who else? I'm going to leave Deja and Stephen till the end because they came a bit late. Who else was here? Cremina. Oh, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
Go ahead, Cremina. I'll go after Cremina.
Okay, cool. So I have a list here. I'd like to finish filming for the current stories by April and start filming new ones, which will be what my aims would be for the year after. I want to set myself a challenge of doing rough cuts for the current stories in 1 month. Would like to educate myself on sound because I'm quite intrigued by it. And well, to finish off with the movies, it's a distribution to deliver at least one for distribution. There is the new thing, which is the slightly different new media that I always like to diversify, which is to write a second book related to my theme, and to make everything possible to get my first grant.
Yes. I really like the idea of the 1 month idea. I just think that would be very interesting, to see what you could do with that. I'm very, very interested in the idea of trying to shorten timelines. And then one little tiny adjustment I would make is, instead of saying I'd like to get at least one film to the distributor, I'd like you to focus on one and be done. So it's not so much at least one, but just getting that first one into the distributor. And then I know you've got the other ones going at the same time.
Yes.
But, just focus on getting that one done. The thing is that the learning curve around post-production and delivery is really quite high. So, but once you've done it once, so I think that, focusing on getting that one finished is really good.
Yes.
And I have this whole thing. Once you've made one feature, it just puts you in a different category. And it's because of that post-production difficulty level.
Yeah, probably that's the most important thing for me for next year. That will be to have one film in distribution. That's the most important. Yeah.
Yes.
Go.
Well, you're very close anyway, where you are. You're already close. So great. Who else can I call on? Who else? Yinka.
I would like to make 2 feature films and 2 short films, and to learn more on how to raise funds. That's all.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Do you want 1 second? Hello, I'm teaching a class. And I have COVID, so I'd love to get an appointment. Thank you. Yeah. She's called, it's my doctor, a doctor calling me like 3 times. I finally said I'd pick up. So that's great. So the first feature is you're going to shoot it when? In March?
In March.
So when are
March
you
too.
planning on shooting the second feature?
At the end of the year, by the end of the year.
So you're going to, do you already have a script?
I have a rough sketch.
Okay, fabulous, fabulous. I would say the same thing, that I don't really see you going back to shorts. I don't think it's a necessary move. But
Okay. Okay.
if it's fun, great. But I just don't really see, once you've got into features, there's not really a value to making shorts.
Because they
Yeah.
always say you take shots to festivals.
Well,
Festivals?
you can take your features to festivals.
Okay.
Do you want to have your film in a festival?
Oh, I would like to.
Then that should be on your list.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes, put that one on your list. But it doesn't need to be a short. It can be a feature. You know, so yeah, but you want to have your film in a festival? Great. I'm always talking about distribution because I want filmmakers to get money from their work, right? Festivals don't necessarily bring money. They do cost money.
Oh, okay.
They will
All
cost
right.
you money. They don't bring you money. But filmmakers always really want to go to festivals, and I just have to remember, because I make the bottom line get distribution, right? Filmmakers think that festivals are what lead to distribution. I don't.
All right.
So, but festivals are super fun. You know, it's great to, you know, I'm already getting messages, are you going to Sundance? Let's meet at Sundance, you know. And I had to say this week, you know, maybe I was sick as a dog, you know, the other day with COVID, or I feel much better now. But, you know, I was like, I don't know, maybe ask me when I'm not sick with COVID, but I don't want to go to Sundance. Who's been to Sundance? Did you get the Sundance flu? You don't remember getting the Sundance flu? I always get the Sundance flu. So I always come back sick for like a week, and you know, and this I don't know if it was just the time, and I just thought, I don't think so. Julie, why don't you go next? What's your vision for 2020?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that this mic is turned on, so I should. Okay, my 2023 goals, work in film full time, because I haven't been doing that. Outline the full Diane project, which is in this big.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
This is my father was adopted, and we recently reconnected with our birth, his side of the birth family, and I have an aunt who was a writer. She died in 2013, so I never got to know her, but we look a little bit alike. We share a lot of common interests, and she was kind of a consumer advocate writer, and she wrote this newsletter called Thumper, and she has a lot of really interesting stories in her life, so I feel like there's a lot of material in here, and I'm having trouble. Like, I don't want to get like too overwhelmed, but I would like to outline the project because I feel like there's potentially 3 stories in there that would make really great films. So outline the project, write the first script that I was considering shorts, and now you've convinced me that that is not a good idea.
You
I've
were
been
easy.
I've been told that everybody does shorts. In order to make the feature, you got to make the short. And I've done experimental shorts, my own personal creative projects, but those are more art films. So I was considering, like, I guess it's a good effort to see if you could do like a good beginning, middle, end, you know, like really tight. Can you tell the story in a short form? And then it gives people confidence that you can actually do a feature. But I mean, I hear what you're saying now. They're not really, what's the point when you can't sell it? And it's not really a good business move. So I feel like I have enough content. So to write the first script, I might need to work with the writer. Like I have a lot of ideas, but I really want to make sure that the script is, you know, really well done. So whether that's a dialogue writer or whatnot. So create a budget and a timeline, work with a business coach for filmmakers. So I'm really considering working with you because I think it would be a great idea. I am interested in the financial piece because I tend to do a lot of volunteer work. I you know, kind of like don't charge for my work, and I've made a lot of projects just pro bono. So, you know, I need to shift my relationship with money. So I like a lot of what
Yes.
um,
Love it.
create the pitch, identify producers, and pitch. That's the scary part for me. Like, I kind of want to be like in the background and do all the creative work and let someone else like. But anyway, so I think working with someone like you, yourself, and maybe Janine to work on the structure and whatnot of this. But I do feel like I have a lot of content and I don't want to get overwhelmed. So like really getting organized and trying to start doing the creative work.
It sounds really good. And when you have an overwhelming amount of content, one of the things that I find works really well, and this, I think I was alluding to this yesterday a little bit, that filmmakers are often, like you just said, like, oh, I want to just do the creative. But the funny thing is that when filmmakers focus on the money stuff, and they have to learn how to pitch, and they have to learn how to succinctly talk, it's so good for the writing. It's so good, you know. So you have all these ideas, and then you have to, you know, sometimes when we're practicing pitching with my clients, you know, somebody will have gotten really good. So I'm like, how do I up this challenge? I'm like, let's play the 30-second game, you know. So yeah, we have to
elevator pitch.
So it's just funny that once you start focusing on the money piece, oh, Krista has an assistant. And when you focus on the money piece, it really does kind of help things get focused and clearer, I think.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like a lot of what you're
I
saying.
don't know why
about
it is. It improves.
Yeah, that makes sense. My mantra right now is I'm calm, I'm confident, I'm creative. So I think maybe pitching in that with that mantra in my head would be helpful.
Well,
would be a good challenge.
When my clients are practicing pitching, and as at the same time they're learning how the industry works and how the business works, and so the confidence comes from having the knowledge. You know, it's not like, oh, we're just sort of bullshitting, you know, when we're talking. It's like, oh, now we know what we're talking about. So it makes a big difference.
Right. Cool.
All right. So Krista, I know you weren't with us yesterday, but would you like to share your 2023 vision?
Sure. I apologize for not being here. I was told Janine was Lanuette was a screenwriting teacher for me years ago, and she had told me about it, and she said that I could possibly get the video so that I could catch up for yesterday. But I have not done, I mean, I graduated, I did some stuff, I wrote scripts, and then I've gotten away from it for, I'd say 20 years. I have ideas. I was thinking more TV series, possibly, just because it's involves a lot of things and multi-generational type of ideas. So, but I studied mostly film screenwriting, so I need to learn about TV writing, come up with the structure of how I take these different generational ideas, storylines, and bring them together. Write 1 to 3 scripts. I mean, maybe I'm being maybe it needs to be more, I don't know. As I'm continuing to write ideas, I've been writing a lot of ideas, and then make contacts And then the script that I had written years ago, I was thinking about going back to and rewriting it, you know, with a more lived life frame. So I don't know. I know I'm loving just being here. This has been, I've been so out of this life for so long. So it's nice just to be here. Everyone else seems very like, I'm not putting myself down. I'm just like, I've just been out of this element for a long time. So, you know, I welcome whatever ideas you have or can contribute. I'm just trying to get my feet wet again.
Also, you know, we had a whole day yesterday, so we were able to start. It's almost like dialing it in. Like when clients are practicing their pitch, we kind of tweak, tune, you know, so and eventually it gets better and better and better and better. So they've had a whole day of practicing talking about their vision. You're fine. The one thing I would say, I'll make my little speech about series, which is that the series is a much later point in a filmmaker's development. And so it's not really the way that you enter, unless you're going to try and get a job in a writer's room, you know, but you wouldn't then be writing the series. You would be a junior writer, which, you know, sounds great to me. But so I like to steer filmmakers away from trying to develop series and get a feature film made. The feature film is the entry to the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have a script I wrote, like I said, a long time ago. I've thought about often getting back to it. So focus more of my attention on that, and then
it doesn't matter, you know. You could come up with an idea today and write it in the next 2-3 weeks. It's almost Christmas, you know. Write a script by. You think I'm joking? Yes, well, stick around. Actually, Michelle's not here today, but yesterday one of my clients was on, who I gave the 2-week challenge, and she rose to the occasion, and we gave her feedback on her script on Wednesday, you know, so, and it was very good. So who knows, you know. Okay, who have I left out? Steve. Oh, Jimmy, yes, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay, so my vision, I put overall vision is to do work I love with what I love who love me. My goals for 2023, generate £500,000 plus VAT or dollars, whichever is greater, from international sources. And then I'd like to be clearer on the 1 million Black women plan, get clarity on my audience, and also partnerships, donors, sponsors in place and growing. Like, I pay myself, I have a number here, I'm not going to say it, before sales taxes and such. I want to hire a diverse team. I'd like to be in a position to have a full-time business development executive / fundraiser. I'd like to be able to, who can 10x their salary, a full-time project manager, administrator, or 2 part-time people doing that. A part-time marketing person, social media researcher. I'd like to have an accountant, and I'd like to have a bookkeeper. Please, Black Jesus. I'd also like to draft. I'd like to draft a book, or have drafted my one-woman show. And I'd also like, this is a free roll. I'd like to have a brainstorming buddy that I can barter with, so we can brainstorm like a couple times a week on things we're trying to work through. I'd like to, this is a film goal, and I'm not going to justify why this is a film goal. I'd like to move to the city with a cat. I'd like to hold a company party or a dinner for my in-country team, an actual proper, here's food and dessert and alcohol, and I will pay for it. I'd like to complete Vanishing Women, get it picture locked, accepted by PBS or distributor, a 15-minute cut completed, and our turnkey events running without me. I'd like to get the Black women community started, ongoing and revenue generating. The Black women community is based off the mailing list. So the idea is to build this community. So for future projects, they are also people I can directly sell, market, and fundraise from, because they're on my list. I'd like to have delivered my TED Talk linked to my film. And my dream wish, again, these all film related, don't ask me why. I'd like to hold a Jimmy Christmas, and I would like to do my Jimmy US tour as well.
Yay! I don't know if anybody could notice that Jimmy's been working on this. That's awesome. The detail and the delegating is just fantastic. Delegate, 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 delegate. Who was it who said earlier? Laurie D, production company, right? So you're going to have a production company, you're going to have different people working, you know, maybe one team is working on this and another team is working on that. And so that was great, Jimmy. And I love the staff dinner. That's great. Yeah, when I used to run the cinema and the film school, I would always have everybody out for dinner, and it was just the only time we all saw each other, you know, because everybody was working different shifts and all of that kind of thing. So I think that's great, and it's really important for people to come together. Although I guess we've learned how not to in COVID or something, but okay. Now, Deja, would you like to go? So glad you could make it today.
Me too. So in 2023, I will fundraise my feature film, shoot it in June, and sell my film by this time next year, so that Joanne will be telling stories about me. After May, I will no longer have to take client work. I will be able to make money from my ideas. And
After when? I'm sorry to interrupt.
After May.
After May, okay.
After May, I will wrap with my last client. I will decide between two projects and write my second feature, and double my revenue for my company.
Yay! That's really awesome. Thanks for sending you a script, by the way. I love the idea of the second film, and I have a client who, before he met me, he made one feature for 60,000, one feature for 120,000. They didn't make any money, and now he just finished production on the one he made working with me, and this time he, you know, is very clear about the money side of it. And we had a meeting with the sales agent that I'm working with a lot right now. And the sales agent was really helpful because, you know, he said, once you've made your third film and you start having money coming in from that, and then you have money coming in from the second one, and you have money coming in from the first one, then you could really start to see that being something that's going to generate enough income for you. You know, he has a writing gig. He's some kind of writing job he has, you know, but and I really like that idea. And so far, those first two films haven't made any money. And frankly, the idea of them making money never crossed his mind. So it's not like he made films that were designed to make money. He made films that were designed not to make any money. You know, so the third one is designed to make money, you know, and not to lose money, which he did on the first ones, thinking, oh, I'm an artist, that's what I'm supposed to do. No. So I very much like the idea of already thinking about, you know, the second feature, and yeah, by this time next year I'll be telling stories about Deja. Fabuloso, fabuloso. Stephen.
There you go. Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Hi, Joanne. Okay, so I got a little list I've been putting together since everybody went before me, but a lot of it's the same of what most people have been saying. Just a few things here and there that are different, but I wrote to be a filmmaker, to be a filmmaker in 2023. That's my goal. That's all I want to do. It's all I've ever wanted to do. So that means being on set. That means location scouting. That means just being in my element, you know, just constantly being around other creatives who are on the same mindset, and really for me, that's my goal is, get that going and be there. I'd like to get my first feature off the ground. I'd like to finish the script that I've started, that I've been writing, working on, going back and forth with it, and finally just complete that and start that whole pre-production, in production, post-production, the whole 9 yards, everything. And that is one of my goals. I don't know when that's going to happen in 2023 or when, but I do know it has to get started. It has to happen. So, and then obviously a lot of what we're learning today from you, of course, the small amount that we have to learn is the business side, becoming more aware of, what I can do to become more marketable, what I can do to become, keep building on those relationships, establishing, because I would like to continue building on that business side of for myself as an independent filmmaker. So that's more on the cinematography side. I'd like to be able to, land those relationships where with commercial work where I can, it doesn't have to be a feature film, right? I mean, I want it to be feature films ultimately, but I would like to have something where I have relationships established with certain companies, production studios, where they're able to come to me for certain jobs, and then I can just keep building on that and keep getting the money coming in. Because what I don't want to do in 2023, I always say what we want to do is I don't want to make investments and not get anything in return for that. So I made a conscious decision not to waste money. If I have to make a film, I'd like to use somebody else's money in doing it. So,
That's right.
I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm all for it. I'm all in. So that's and obviously I also have some ideas for a TV series that I've been working on for a while. So I would love to get a first written completed first pilot completed and ready for me to get that one going in the process.
Well, I already made my series speech, so I'm not going to make it again.
I know. Yeah.
And the reason is this, Stephen. It's a later stage in a filmmaker's career.
Right.
And, when you make a pilot, what happens is you can't sell it, you can't make any money on it, and then you have to go into development. I have nothing against development, but it's not making any money,
Right.
So when I have clients who have projects in development, they're making films at the same time so that they're moving their career forwards with their feature films. And the development can happen at the same time.
At the same time. I think that's, definitely that's how I want it to, how I envisioned it.
It's the difference between what I call this work is going to end up bringing in money. This work is speculative. It's based on the power and the interest of other people, and we have no control. And I'm not ready about that.
I think, I definitely understand that. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it has to happen at the same time. But I think another thing that I really want to be great at is I definitely want to be great at being more charismatic in terms of the pitching of the story, the pitching of the ideas, like knowing the language, knowing when you build these relationships, knowing that, yes, it is a business, but there's a whole language in that business of knowing who to go to, knowing what's the framework of that, knowing okay, so you got Netflix, you've got, Paramount, they all have a certain genres that they follow, certain things they're looking for. So, and I think you mentioned that in when you're doing the business, when you finally pick the business of writing, right, and you understand it, I think that's part of it, knowing exactly, and I guess being more deliberate, right, in what I'm choosing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when I listen to you, Stephen, I can hear the difference between you and my clients. Because my clients are so much more clear and specific and precise, and so you're still in this kind of generalizing, but that comes from practicing the pitch, having a goal and knowing who your market is, who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly. So,
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Anita,
Thank
are
you.
you able to speak? Because I know you went off camera. Anita.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, okay. Hey,
I
nice
had
to
to
meet
run
you.
and find a charger.
Oh, I wanted to leave you to the end because you weren't here yesterday, so.
Okay, so in 2023, I will complete a documentary that I've been working on. I need about 5 more days of shooting and then editing. So I need to decide on my editor, and I need to raise money because heretofore, it was just my husband and I paying for this. So I appreciated your comments about the money side of things. Because even though we're artists, you know, most of us, I presume, but I can speak for myself, that I'm not super wealthy. I can't just go do whatever I want whenever I want. I was in the business and got out of the business for about 20 years, just like Krista. I earned a Peabody Award for the second project I worked on, and I only worked on like 4 projects. And then I had to get out because of illness, and that's the documentary I'm working on. I have several autoimmune diseases, and I also want to talk about how difficult it is to be a woman and be sick, advocate for yourself, and the relationship with the medical system.
Wow. I know a lot about that, Anita.
I had a feeling by what you said earlier.
Well, welcome back to filmmaking, Anita. And lovely to have you in the class. Yeah, I can't think of anything I have to add to what you shared. It was it's great. Yeah, get the film finished this year. And I think that's there was a documentary that was made about a woman who had, you know, very long, you know, same as me, you know, like more than a decade long looking for what she had, what illness she had and all this stuff. And I started watching it, and in the first 2 or 3 minutes it was about her and her husband, and I couldn't watch it because I went through all my illnesses single, and it was just too painful for me to watch it. But I do think that there needs to be a lot more about these kind of topics. I don't think there's very much out there, so that's a great one to land on. But yeah, no more spending your own money, Anita, okay? Or your husband's.
Yes.
So
Can I just say something real quick? I think as a society, people don't want to think about being ill.
Right.
Just don't want to think about it. So I wasn't having much luck in terms of fundraising, but I don't know the reason. So we'll see.
We'll see. So I'm going to share with you my vision for 2023. So my clients deliver 10 films to the distributor. I help my clients raise $12 million, and I already have 4 on the table. And all my clients will pitch themselves every time they share and answer a question. That was for my clients. You're all in trouble. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is we're going to have a little break. And when we come back, I'm going to run through the 7 types of fundraising that I like to teach. And we're going to give a budget to each of the 7 types of fundraising about how we're going to raise the money. Okay. So what amount of money are we going to bring in each of the 7 types of fundraising? So we're going to take a little break, have a little food, whatever, 15 minutes. And when we come back, I'm going to go through the 7 types of fundraising, and we are going to basically build a budget for the money that we're going to raise in 2023. Everybody looks scared. You're supposed to be like, yay!
Yay.
So I'm going to, it's 2:20 my time, so we'll come back at 2:35. All right, and I'll see you then. 15 minutes. I used my 15 minutes to do a COVID test, and it's positive. Oh, well, okay. All right, let me just give like 1 more minute until I have a couple more people back, and I can also finish making my decaf coffee.
You're muted, Joanne.
Sorry, I'm going to run through the 7 types of fundraising, and we'll probably have a couple of minutes afterwards, but I would suggest that while I run through the 7 types of fundraising, that you write down a number that you think you can or you would like to raise in each of the 7 categories. Now, those of you particularly who haven't learned anything about fundraising, you're not going to really have an idea. I'm going to ask you to do an odd thing. I'm going to ask you to just feel a number. I'm just going to ask you to feel a number. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's sort of like an instinct. Like what instinctively do you think the number could be? And write it down. Okay, so in the end, we're going to have 1 through 7 with all the 7 types that I'm going to run through, and then you're going to put down a number. Okay, and then there's going to be a special bonus number 8 at the end, but we'll go through the 7. All right, so did we get the exercise? Okay, and I completely forgot at the beginning of the day to just say, you know, what our time frame is. So we'll be finishing at 4. We already had our little break, and we'll go through and finish at 4. All right, so here are 7 types of fundraising. Okay, so is this going to move? Oh no, it's not. Okay, I got it working during the break, and now it's not working the way I wanted to. All right, so the thing about fundraising is that there are lots and lots and lots of different ways of fundraising, and each filmmaker is, you know, has different access to different types of fundraising. And there are some types of fundraising that might be better for one person, and some types of fundraising that might be better for another. So I'm always interested in, well, what works best for you, you know, because maybe one type works for you and doesn't work for another person. So the first thing that I always want to tell filmmakers when they're fundraising is that the majority of the money that is given every year in this country is from individual donors. And, you know, I always used to say it was over 90%. I think I've been seeing numbers recently that are more like 87%. So it's changed a lot. But, you know, we're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars. But the majority of money that is given by individual donors, I mean, the majority of money that is given every year is individual donors. So I have here, individual donors are motivated by the desire to give and make change in the world. And so they give to the causes that are most important to them. So I know for myself, I don't think I've ever received a solicitation for something to give to animals in my life, because the causes I'm interested in are much more things like homelessness and anything to do with people, you know, environmental racism, you know, anything to do with people. I'm not an animals person, but I bet you all know people who are animals people, you know, and you hear stories about the people who leave their entire fortunes to an organization that saves cats, you know, and that kind of thing. So with donors, the most important thing to know is what is their interest? What are the causes that they are interested in? There is no point in going to an animal person and asking for money for the homeless. There's no point in going to a homeless advocate and asking money for cats. Okay, so you need to know what the donor's interest is. And the thing is that often, especially when you're starting out, the donor's interest is in supporting you. You know, if you're making a short film, now everybody thinks I hate short films. No, I don't hate short films. I have a client right now making a short film. But often, you know, when you're starting out and you're making a short film or you're making your first feature, you'll get donors to give to your film, and partly they're giving just to support you, you know. So the number one way of fundraising that I want to talk about is small donors, you know, and in the past, we would do a bake sale, we would do a raffle. You can still do all those things if you want. But in today's world, the simplest way to raise money from small donors is a crowdfunding campaign. And crowdfunding campaigns are just great as far as I'm concerned. They're just great because the crowdfunding platforms, the ones I usually have my clients use is Indiegogo, but the crowdfunding platforms are a template that's set up. You don't have to build it yourself. You don't have to go and bake cakes yourself. It's already there in a template form. You fill in the information about your film and raise money that way. So what I think, the other thing I like about crowdfunding is that it's a really good way to start getting the word out about your film. And the other thing I like about crowdfunding is that it's the one type of fundraising, I would say, that every single filmmaker can do, whether they are a total beginner, making their short film, making a feature film. Every single filmmaker can do a crowdfunding campaign. So you don't have to be, you know, like this morning, I was working on a grant proposal with my most advanced client, and that funding is probably not available to more, I keep wanting to say junior, that's not the right word, more early stage filmmakers, you know, that particular grant. And then the next one that we're going for, definitely not, you know. So, but this one, crowdfunding, every filmmaker can do that. All right. Now, before we move on, I would like you to write down at least number one and then a number. How much money would you like to raise from crowdfunding in 2023? And just kind of look at the ceiling and land on a number. What am I going to put down? You know, it may be, you may have done this before, you may have some experience that might be able to guide you. If you've never done it before, you won't really know what you will be able to do, but just think of a number. All right, so the second type of fundraising is major donors. So major donors are people who can give, who have more discretionary income, if that's the right word, who have more money that they're able to give away. And in crowdfunding, the general donation, the most common donations are $75 and $100. With major donors, again, every filmmaker is different. You know, for one filmmaker, a major donor is somebody who gives $250. You know, for another filmmaker, a major donor is somebody who gives $1,000. I have clients who have major donors at $25,000. And no doubt that number can, you know, just keep going up. So with major donors, it's much more to do with, you know, how many people do I know? How many people do I know who could give $1,000, who could give $500, who could give $5,000? And so ultimately, you're going to make a list of people who you could go and ask for a large amount. What large is entirely up to you, entirely up to you. So you may have, you know, mom, dad, and cousin Joe, you know, you might have, you know, Mark Gordon, who was here, he's going to come back. He is on his second feature and he has a mailing list of 2,500 people who've given anything between $25 and $25,000. So, you know, major donors is something that you'll keep building, you'll keep growing. I was talking to Stephen before about the precision with which my clients can pitch. Once you can pitch with precision, you can start expanding your major donor network because you can talk to everybody about your film. You can talk to anybody about your film. If you think about fundraising as a pyramid like this, and at the bottom you have, you know, if you do a crowdfunding campaign, you raise $10,000, that's going to take 100 donors. And then the numbers, as you increase in money, get smaller and smaller and smaller. So maybe at the top of your pyramid, maybe it's a $5,000 donor, maybe it's a $25,000 donor, but you probably only have one or two of those. So you have smaller numbers at the top of the pyramid down to the bottom. Okay, so look up at the ceiling, come up with a number, and write down a number for your major donors. I like, Anita, you don't even know me, but you're laughing at me. I appreciate that. I appreciate people laughing at my jokes. Okay, number 3, foundations. My mentor is called Murray Wachowski, and he wrote a book called Shaking the Money Tree. And I used to bring him down to Miami to teach. You know, he would teach, you know, weekend classes on fundraising. And it was fun because, you know, one time he would come and he'd say, the number one way of raising money is major donors, you know. And then the next year he would come and he'd say, the number one way of raising money is foundations. And then he sort of realized, oh, it just depends on any given year. He would flip-flop back and forth. Sometimes it's major donors, sometimes it's foundations. Now, foundations, in a way, are entities that are set up for a person or a family or a corporation to give away money. And so let's say, who can I think of? Kresge, the Kresge Foundation. The Kresge Foundation is money that came from, I didn't grow up in America, so, but there was something that was known as 5 and dime stores in America, 5 and dime stores, and they were owned by the Kresge family. So the Kresge family had 5 and dime stores all over the country that, you know, very, very poor people could go and buy stuff. Eventually the family put millions of dollars into a foundation, hired a full-time staff, and every year they give away millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they're one of my favorite foundations. Actually, I have raised about $1 million from Kresge Foundation, and they're very, very forward-thinking. And a few years ago, they sort of shut down for a couple of years, and just rethought their giving and decided that they wanted all their giving to go to urban neighborhoods. And so that's what they do. They put millions of dollars into urban neighborhoods. But every foundation has its own mandate, you know, because again, we're back to one foundation wants to support the homeless and another foundation wants to support getting cats neutered, you know. So every foundation has a list, usually a multiple priorities that they give to. They often have geographic priorities that they give to. But for example, for Anita's film or for Jimmy's film, these are organizations that are going to be funding your films. So put down number 3, foundations. Now, some of you, you know, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm making a horror film, so I really don't see that a foundation is going to be the place for me to go. So you might put 0. You know, you might have a horror film that somehow fits a foundation mandate. I have a client who just finished making a thriller. She's just choosing between which contract she's going to go with a distributor. But the whole film is set in the world of homelessness in Las Vegas. She will be able to raise foundation money for her film. So sometimes, even if you're making a fiction film, it has a topic that works with foundation giving. So that's something. But for documentary filmmakers, this is really an important way of raising money. So number 3, foundations. Write down a number. A number you would like to raise from foundations in 2023. Okay, number 4, corporate sponsorship. So some corporations have set up a foundation. So I've raised money from Microsoft, Yahoo, Clorox, Cisco, lots of different corporations, and they set up a foundation, just like I was saying about Kresge. They set up a foundation, and then that foundation's job is to give money for community benefit. You know, corporate sponsorship is something a bit different. Corporate sponsorship comes from the marketing department of a corporation. So let's say that, oh, here's one for Jimmy I'll be approaching. I discovered this company a couple of years ago, and they changed my life. They're called Co-Mix. And Co-Mix, when you go onto their website, Anita, do you know Co-Mix? Oh my God, changed my life. So when you go onto their website, it's for people of color. When you go on their website, you do a little quiz, and it comes up with the number of what kind of hair you have. So now I can always have curls in my hair. I don't have to have, you know, a big frizz bomb like I always did. And I used to buy all these products, you know, all these products, and nothing ever worked. And my curl mix gives me curls every time. Don't I sound like an ad for curl mix? Anyway, I love this company. And so for Jimmy's film, you know, corporate sponsors that are looking to whose customers are Black women or women of color, or who are providing services for that community. Those are the kind of corporate sponsors. Now, corporate sponsorship is a bit of a tricky thing for your first film, because it's difficult to be able to say, oh, X number of people are going to see it. So this company, like, I just did an ad for them, and I just put an ad for Co-Mix in front of all of you, which is like 12 people, right? So when a corporation's marketing department wants to invest their dollars, they don't want to reach 12 people. You know, Co-Mix is not going to give me sponsorship money for holding up their product in my class, right? They want to get it in front of thousands and thousands of people. They want it to be in front of their audience. So with corporate sponsorship, it's very hard for your first film to get corporate sponsorship money. unless you are going to be going on PBS, and then you can really show that you have large audiences. Although actually PBS, a few years ago, they stopped paying for their Nielsen ratings. And so we don't have the numbers the same way as we used to with PBS. Special events. I hate special events so much. I sometimes want to take them off the list. So special events could look like, you know, a 5K race or something like that could be a special event, you know, and everybody pays to be in the 5K race, and you have 5,000 people show up and they all pay $50, and now you just raised however much money that is. I can't do math. So special events often are really labor intensive, and they often involve thousands and thousands of people. Corporations love those. You know, they love those events. So when when you're doing a special event that's going to involve thousands and thousands of people, that's a really good thing to bring to corporate sponsors. I have burned out on special events, so I avoid them like the plague, but that doesn't mean to say that you have to. My favorite kind of special event is a house party. And again, my mentor, Murray Warshawski, has written a book called House Parties. And basically you invite people, you know, you pick your friend who has the nicest house, you have your friend invite their friends, they come to the event, you tell them they're coming to a fundraiser, you invite 100 people, 20 people show up, but those 20 people already know they're going to be asked for money when they arrive. That's a house party. And that's the only kind of special event that I ever recommend to anybody. Because I've seen so many times filmmakers, one of my filmmakers did it last summer. I tried to persuade her not to do it, but she did a special event, spent a ton of money, and didn't make any money. And it's just, you know, so common. And I knew it would happen, and she was just so determined to do it. She put on a fabulous event, and you know, it didn't make any money. So that's why I don't like special events. Labor intensive, costly, and they can totally miss the mark. So house parties, yay. All right, have you written down a number for special events? Anybody doing a 10K race or anything like that? No, good. But people have raised, you know, $100,000 at a house party. So, you know, that's a possibility. Grants. So, okay. The first grant that I like everybody to look at is the local government funding. So, oh no, it's a different filmmaker I've been talking to the last few days, lives in San Francisco. And San Francisco has arts funding. You know, every year you can apply for a $10,000 arts grant in San Francisco. And whatever city you live in, whatever region you live in, there are probably grants there. I used to run a program that was a Florida-wide grant that was for artists, and anybody in Florida could apply for it in any version of art. And a lot of times filmmakers miss those grants because filmmakers look for film grants. But for example, that San Francisco $10,000 a year, it's under arts funding. It doesn't come under film funding. It comes under arts funding. So I love for people to start with local money. $5,000, $10,000 is going to be very helpful. In the fiction world, there are fewer grants, but in the documentary world, there are a lot. And I have nothing against documentary film grants, but the competition is super, super fierce. And I think that, you know, filmmakers get, they get discouraged when they are not getting grants. And, you know, really, if you're making your first film and you're applying for documentary grants, it's probably not necessarily going to be where you're going to get money from, unless there's some big reason, like you're doing something. I have a client who's making a documentary right now about the topic of abortion, which obviously is a really big deal right now. So I think her project will do well. So if it's something that's really contemporary and so on, you know, maybe, but grants for documentaries are super, super, super hard. I'm not saying the other types of fundraising are easy, you know, but documentary film grants are really hard. And what I see all the time is documentary filmmakers who actually get a grant don't realize that, wait, there are all these other types of fundraising. And the grant is like this big stamp of approval. And then, you know, they can go for all the other types of fundraising. So put down a number for grants. Oh, and for all you people who love partying, you know, you can have a special event. Just invite me by Zoom, okay? Number 7, plan giving. So plan giving really doesn't apply, but I think Mark, I think you've had a planned gift, right, for one of your films. Plan giving is when an individual leaves money for a project or in their will. It tends to not be a film thing because people tend to give their planned gifts to brick and mortar things. They give it to a building, you know, because it's the place you can put your name on a building, and it's sort of like, you know, I'm going to die, I'm going to put my name somewhere, my name is going to be there in posterity. But Mark, you've had planned gifts, right, for your film?
Yeah, actually, I had a few of them. I had a really disappointing thing that happened where this woman, my donor, was setting up a donor advised fund and never made it to the last meeting. So that was a big disappointment.
Yes, she died before she
Completed her
out her funding. So does anybody know of any other kinds of funding that were not on there? Laurie is looking up at the ceiling. Deja.
I don't know. I joined twice. That's why. I apologize for that. So the only thing different with the grant stuff is that I've gotten grants through I've never gotten an art or film grant, but I go after grants that deal with the topic of my film. So that was just, I mean, I don't think it's different. It's just a little bit different, but not.
Well, give us an example. Tell us an example.
So I got a grant for working with second-gen immigrant kids. So like I worked with that population to work on a film. So I got it because the grant, one of their missions in my city is working with immigrants.
Right.
And so it was and then I just got another grant to do stuff around re-entry individuals and their thoughts around causes of crime. And so it wasn't an art grant. And I found that people are like, ooh, what, a film for this? You know, it's not an art, but the other people are like, this is so different. And so
in both those cases, who was the actual funder?
I had a sponsor, a partner, fiscal agent. I think
No,
that's
no,
what.
no. Who was the funder? Who
Oh,
gave you the money?
one is called the Clues Fund. It's a family fund. CLOWES.
CLOWES,
And another one's our local Central Indiana fund, which is our biggest fund here.
Fantastic. So the Close Fund is probably a foundation,
Yeah, you're right. It is a
right?
foundation.
It's a foundation. So you're giving,
Actually, both of them are foundations. Now I think about it.
well, the Indiana one, it's
CIC.
community fund, community foundation, right? The India is probably a
Yeah,
foundation.
I think Central Indiana's Community Fund, maybe. Yeah.
Right. So most cities, regions have community foundations, and then they give, and so that's actually kind of in between a foundation and a city, because their mandate is probably helping the city, you know. But that's exactly right. So you are you get the gold star, because the funding, as you said, it's not, doesn't say film fund on it. It says for the topic of the film. That's great. That's great. Any other kinds of funding that we left out?
Well, I don't know, but here are something I thought about. So one, speaker fees and things like that. Direct sales, so like pre-ordering, pre-sales of content and merch, selling merchandise to raise funds for the project.
Yes. So I keep meaning to change my 7 ways and change number 7, because plan giving doesn't really work for films, is sales. Sales is the big way of raising money for your film. And there are lots of different versions of sales. So we've been talking about distribution. Distribution equals sales. And then what Jimmy's talking about is other ways of selling your film. So the way I think about it is I put a line in the middle. So on this side, I call it traditional distribution. So let's say your film ends up on a platform or you know, something like that, somewhere that it's making money. And then on the other side is educational distribution. And educational distribution is further divided. Educational distribution can be libraries and universities. That's one kind of distribution, which actually tends to be handled by traditional distributors. And then there's all these other ways of making money with your film, like having your be paid to have your film at a conference, be paid to speak about your film, be paid by a university. All those kind of things are sales. So sales is a very, very big way of making money. Yes, Deja, when you said that you had another way, I thought you were going to say film tax incentives. So yes, so film tax incentives are another form of government money, because the government, so here I'm back in Florida, and in Miami-Dade, we have our tax incentives back. We used to have very good tax incentives in Florida, and some very, very smart people got rid of them. And the Florida entertainment industry has been up in arms ever since. I think it happened right about when I left Miami that they lost the Florida tax incentives. And then we had a really great film commissioner who was somebody who was experienced in production, who got them back. And so wherever you're located, a really great thing to do is to Google tax incentives and find out what's available. Now, some places have tax incentives. The first thing you want to find out is what is the minimum, because a lot of places will have a tax incentive and the minimum is like $1 million. So it is often out of reach for a lot of filmmakers. And then I think it was Deja actually just told me that where she lives, they have a brand new tax incentive, and there is no minimum, meaning no matter how small your film is, you can get a tax incentive, which is the way I would do it. Deja, the answer to that question is it would depend on what the tax incentive, the place giving the tax incentive says that you have to do. They'll tell you when you need to apply. Go ahead, Mark.
So I live in New Mexico, and we got a nice amount back from the state, and it's not in every state, but they had passed a law that you could actually borrow production funds against your rebate. But you had to have, you know, the facts and figures to back it up, you know, how much you were planning on spending. And but we were able to finance our last bit of post-production to the tune of about $25,000. And the bank, well, my executive producer's husband and she owned a bank. And so they were looking for someone to try this program out. They were looking for a guinea pig. So I said, you know, I'll volunteer. But it was complicated because the state tax and revenue didn't do it. They would constantly tell us that we were going to get a check, and then there would be months of delay. But all in all, at the end, we ended up not owing anybody money.
That's great. That's a great story. Once you start getting into anything to do with government money, there's always a lot of oversight. So final reports, you know, all that kind of thing, a lot of very fiddly bookkeeping stuff. So if you're going to have, if you're going to use a tax incentive, you may need to be at a point where you have a bookkeeper or something like that, so that you can keep track of the money, and often it's a reimbursement. So you have to be able to have all your receipts and then say, this is how much I spent, and then you can get money back. So that's a great way. So there's another big way of raising money for films that I have not mentioned yet. Big way of raising money for films. Investors. What were you going to say, Stephen?
I was going to say investors.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I wasn't going to say that. Sorry.
So,
I was actually thinking like festivals, which I don't know if maybe that's where you can find potential investors after they viewed, if you want to fund for your next film. I don't know. Maybe
I have met a couple of filmmakers who've met investors at film festivals, so that's true. I wouldn't call it a strategy, but
right.
But investors, so I work with both documentary and fiction filmmakers, and I find that documentary filmmakers tend not to think in terms of investors, and fiction filmmakers tend not to think of the other ways, and they think about investors. I always just kind of want everybody to be open to everything, any possibility. But investors, so I remember years ago when I first started my coaching business, I taught a class that was called Getting the Next Investor for Your Film. And I was really shocked because more people came to the class than ever came to any other class. And as I was sort of realizing who was in the room, I realized about a third of them were making fiction feature films. About a third of them were making shorts, and about a third of them were making documentaries. And I was like, oh my God, you're not going to get investors for your short film, you know, and you're not going to get investors usually for documentaries, not necessarily, but if you're making a big budget documentary, you might. So I realized that, you know, the first thing I have to do is teach what is the difference between a donor and an investor. Does anybody know? Can anybody tell us what's the difference between a donor and an investor? Ooh, lots of people. Emily.
All right, an investor is looking for a return on their investment, whereas a donor is giving you money and just wants you to get the picture done and it doesn't expect anything back.
Yes, exactly. So most of the ones I had on the list of 7 there were all the kind of money that is, gosh, you know, there's an IRS term for it that I can never remember what it is. But anyway, it's money that you get to use to do the project and you don't return it. Usually the money, as Deja gave us those beautiful examples, the money isn't necessarily given to you to make a film. The money is given to you for the cause. So her first cause was to do with immigrants, and the second cause is to do with prison reform and that kind of topic, right? So they are giving to a film as a sort of as a way to either get the word out in the community about the work they're doing or something like that. So the money is going to the cause rather than to the film, is what I'm trying to say. With investors, however, investors, if they put $100,000 into your film, they want to minimally get their $100,000 back. But you know, if all you get an investor back is $100,000, it's like a loan, right? So you know, a standard number is 20%. So you want to be able to give an investor their principal plus 20%. And actually with film, there are many other ways that you can give more money to an investor. I mean, you can decide whatever you want to give to an investor, but so investors are looking to make money on a film. And what's great about investors, and with my clients who have investors on their films, is that you know, they'll start at smaller amounts, and then if you can show that you can make money on the film, they'll invest at larger amounts. So, you know, I've had several clients who've raised money from investors, lost a ton of money, right? And then you know, whether it's 100,000 or 1.5 million, the numbers that, you know, I've worked with people who've lost that kind of money for their investors. And so in order to turn that around, to have an investor come back, you can imagine that's a hard sell, you know. And that's why I said that line about, like, you know, going to somebody and saying, I'm going to work with somebody who is going to make sure this film is going to make money, as opposed to, oh, here's my film, when you're not ready to be able to show that you can make the money back on the film. So investors are looking to make money. At you know, the stage of your first feature, you may very well find an investor who is looking to both support you, support the filmmaking, and have the experience of being in the film world, you know. They may be investing in, you know, pens with their other money, you know. It's not going to be as much fun as investing in film. So you can still offer the fun sides of filmmaking, the creativity, the film festivals, the community benefit, you know, all of those things that you have to offer. But fundamentally, you have to be able to show them that you can make money with their money. Okay, so I think I would like to have, because we're coming to the end, I think I'd like to have another breakout session, because it's just fun for you all to meet each other. And so we'll start with you sharing with each other how much money is on your list. You know, you have your 7, your 7 ways of fundraising. It's more like 8. If you add investors, it's 9. So how much money are you going to raise in 2023? And maybe a little bit about how you're going to do it. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms of 2 again, 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes each, and just share with each other what your numbers look like. This is going to be fascinating. Wait a second. I just want to breakout rooms. Oh, we lost somebody. We lost. Okay. 1 second. Recreate. You may have more than 2 in the breakout room because I need to move somebody. Okay. All right. 5 minutes. Room 1. I think everybody has to. Deja, I don't think can do it, but Mark. Oh,
And I think Deja signed in twice because Blue House, I think, is her.
Yeah, that's me. On the mobile is a Blue House Entertainment.
okay.
I'm still waiting.
Oh, why is okay, let's Mark, it says is unassigned. Let me assign Mark to, hold on, Mark. Assign to room 3. All right, Mark, you should have a join now. And then let's see,
There we go. Thank
am
you.
I the only one who can assign people? So let's see. I put Deja with 5. I'll try not to make 2 Dejas. I think I can't move the, oh yeah, I can. 5. Deja, you should be able to go now. Oh, she's gone. Oh, maybe you can't see the word join, Deja. Let's see, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How are you guys? How's it been going?
It's been going well.
Very well.
We had a 15-minute break and I did another COVID test. I am positive.
No way.
I was sure I wouldn't be positive anymore because I feel pretty good,
The people I know that have, once they get to the feel good stage, are like, yeah, and then they test, they're like, oh, come on, negative.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry.
I really feel fine,
Yeah.
So how's the finals?
Good. I'm officially done with finals. I still have like a few things I have to tie up a little bit, but at least I got through all my exams, so that's good.
You survived.
Yeah.
Semester 1.
Yeah. Barely.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't believe it. Still positive.
And where are you guys traveling to? You said you were traveling.
Yeah. Oh, we're going back to Wisconsin. See my
Okay.
mom and my sisters. But my mom, this is like of course, this finals week, my mom's also been like dealing with like health issues. So she had to like schedule a surgery for like December 28th.
Oh gosh.
And so now I don't know, like, if I should be out there for my mom's surgery. So then are we going to like reschedule, not be there for Christmas, just go like right after Christmas so that we can
Right.
be there? So it's just like so hectic. So like, and like on top, like it's already always so stressful for me, like traveling over the holidays. So, but it's all going to work out. It's all going to be fine, you know, but.
Well, you're going to be pretty close to Emily, right?
Yep, she's across the lake.
Yeah, I was gonna say one giant lake, but otherwise.
Yes, it's a huge lake. Yeah, it's Lake Michigan.
No,
Yeah.
you know, we've been doing WhatsApp for our staff meetings. I think we have to do Zoom.
It's
It's
kind of nice.
It's nice to see people. It's nice to see faces and connect more
I think we
than
have to do Zoom.
voice.
I think it's hard for Annie because of the bandwidth, but even if we can't have her on video, then we can.
Exactly. She can turn her camera off and see us, and we can. We're the
Right.
people working with you.
Right.
Yeah. I
And the
know.
other day, did you see, Lexi, did you see Kay sent me photographs of Quentin showing his doing a presentation of his blog post? Did you see that?
That's so cute. Yeah, Kay said like that they've been having a really good experience.
Really?
Yeah, so that's like really nice to hear. I mean, I think Quentin's been great. So it's great to think that like, or to know that he is like really getting a lot out of it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll have to share the pictures or get Quentin to show. But you know, he was at a podium and there's a big screen behind him with his blog posts.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I was like, oh my gosh, he's learning.
Yeah.
Because I've never forget when he started with us, and this was before you came, Emily, but he said, I said, you know, would you be open to doing, because he wanted to help with the scripts, and I said, would you be open to doing some social media as well? And he said, yes, I don't know anything about social media, but yes. I said to Annie, so Quentin's going to do some social media, he doesn't know anything. And she said, well, what does he know? Nothing. It's so bizarre to meet somebody who's his age, who's not like all
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Well, he definitely has learned a lot working with us. So
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point of being an intern, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, when we finish, we're finishing at 4, and when we finish, I have to call the mechanic and see if they have any idea. But I can't go up to the ashram while I have COVID.
Yep.
What's wrong with your car?
Oh, I've been planning on doing this work for quite some time.
Okay.
You know, it's an old car and it has a lot of leaks, and it would take a big piece of work to actually fix the leaks. And I've been planning on doing it for about a year. But when they told me 3,500, I was like, maybe I don't want to do it. And then I thought, no, you know, I don't really see, because I'm still waiting for the apartment to close. I don't want to be getting into buying a car.
Right.
You know, so I just said, you know what, do it. And then it turned out I had COVID, so it's not like I can go anywhere.
Right.
So it's weird. I'm in a hotel and I can't leave and I have no car. So, it's very strange. I guess I'll do a COVID test every day until
You're
it goes.
negative.
Yeah. All you can do, I guess.
Yeah. But I just don't feel sick. So I thought, oh, I must be fine.
That makes it so frustrating.
Well, yeah, I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have work, but you know, I mean, the biggest work I have to do is on Jimmy's film, and I'm waiting for something for her, and I can't do it, and I've had this going on anyway, so you know, but I'll get back to it soon enough. All breakout rooms were closing. 1 second. Okay. We should have everybody back. I don't know how that worked out because it got a little messed up. Did you have time to share how much money you were going to raise? Everybody? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just want to hear a number from somebody. Somebody give me a number.
205,000.
Oh, that was so specific. I love it. I love it. Was that because, did you already know that number before, Anita? Or
I think I was looking at it from the opposite side, how much I would spend for an editor. And
yes.
And how much I'm finally going to pay myself.
I like it. You don't know me very long, so it's a little bit demanding of me to be asking you this, but I would like to have you stop spending money out of your own pocket on your film. And your husband, he's going to like me for saying that. And raise the money instead, right?
Yes.
Huge mistake.
Excellent, excellent. Who else would like to share a number? Mark.
So I'm looking right at the moment at 274,000. 174,000 to finish my feature film, and another 100,000 to run my business and live on.
Okay, so how did you break down? How did your different types of fundraising break down?
Oh boy.
Did you do that exercise? Did you do the exercise of writing down for each number?
Obviously not.
Mark, you are in so much trouble.
Oh, I have it in my spreadsheet.
Aha, but not for 200 and whatever it was.
Right.
So the purpose of the exercise is to really start thinking about what my goals are for 2023 and what I'm going to raise in each of these areas.
Okay.
Okay. And what I have learned, and in fact, Mark, oh my God, you are in so much trouble. What we came up with a number that Mark needed to raise to do his big PBS thing. And I thought, and we scheduled it, to be into 2023, but we wrote down, and I did this exercise. I said, we're going to raise this much in major donors, this much in small donors. And by the end of the year, he's so close to all these numbers. Some were higher, some were lower, but it's amazing what happens when you write down the numbers. It's amazing. So, Mark, you are in the chair at the back of the room.
Do I have a dunce cap on?
You're in the dunce cap chair at the back of the room. You didn't do the exercise. I just want you to write down the numbers, because you're still doing it from the opposite side. Oh, this is how much I need. No, how much am I going to raise?
Right.
No, how much am I going to raise, and where's it going to come from? Okay, who's next? John Mark.
Yeah, I'll go. So I have two numbers actually. Going through the 7 steps that we spoke through, my number came up to 140,500.
Okay.
Totally see that as doable. However, in regards to the folks I'm going to ask to invest, because I'm going to ask for a 3-picture deal with Graduated, and those 3 pictures would be $460,000.
Could I suggest that you start with 1?
Yes, that's why I have.
3-picture deal language, I just don't think is a good idea for a first-time feature filmmaker. I really like that. Let's make the film, make some money. Second film, make some film.
Make some money. Okay.
Right? Rinse and repeat, and then ask for a 3-picture deal.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that's the way to start. There's kind of a system,
Yeah.
If you told me I want to disrupt the bottles of water business, you know, and we're going to do this and that, and that. Fine. No, the film industry is not like that. The film industry has 100+ years of history behind it. And there are ways that it works and ways that you're doing things. And all everybody says today is, oh, it's everything's different, everything's changing. No, it is not. It's exactly the same as it was 100 years ago.
I'm so fine with that. I want to help my well, because I'm going to ask investors. I want to help them get their money back.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Get the money back and then do the second one.
Yep.
Okay, Stephen. What's your number?
Okay. I came up between 100,000 and 150,000.
Okay.
And they ranged from obviously from all of them. I was looking at all types of investments, so I wasn't leaving any of them out. So
donation or investment?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it wasn't really too much on the investment side. I was really going after more on the grants and the foundations, and
great.
I was, especially for starting out, I was thinking, get established first, get the one film out there, make an impact, make it a really great one, make it so that eyes are on it, eyes are on me, continue to write at the same time. I'll constantly be preparing for the next one, and then that's when I go and make those connections. Maybe, like we said before, it won't happen that way. Maybe it will, but through festivals or, meeting certain people that could potentially be investing in the next one, But I would say I would be thinking more investors on the next go around, but really focus on what's available to me.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I just realized Krista told me she had to leave and I should have taken her first. I missed her, but that's okay. It's not your fault. It was my fault. So Yinka, how much are you going to raise in 2023?
I think 80 should be okay.
80? I thought we were doing 300.
I'm just thinking if we have to do with nobody, with people who are nobody, I think we can do with 80.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You changed directions a lot there. But that's fine. That's fine. I think that it's somehow what feels right, what feels right. That's good. Laurie D.
Hello. Okay. I came up with, first I had 93, but I can't do math obviously in my head. So 103,000. I did 5,000 for small donors, major donors 20, foundations 5. There's a foundation here in Nevada called Jim Rogers Foundation. I used to work at Channel 3 and that's who owned it. And his wife Beverly is running the foundation. Anyway, I'm hopeful.
Nice.
I was like, I've got a connection. Anyway, 3,000 for special events, house party kind of idea. I think I have some friends that might help me out with that kind of thing. And then 70 for investors, which
that sounds
high
great
to me, but I don't know. So anyway, I came up with 103.
Yeah, isn't it interesting when you're working on a micro budget film, $100,000, and then you're like, wow, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel more realistic than the other budget that you had?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
But that was fantasy land.
That's funny, people are thinking millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then we get down to, we're going to make a micro budget film, $100,000, $300,000, 500,000, whatever. And it's like, wow, that's a lot of money. Wow, that's a lot of money, Okay, who did I miss? Julie, are you able to speak? She's off camera. Kramina, what number did you come up with?
My number is 50,000, and it includes the first 3 ways of raising
Okay.
money. So there is the foundation and major donors and some from crowdfunding tours. Yeah. So yeah, those are the three types.
So foundations is yours. For foundations, major donors. And
Donors and some crowdfunding.
yes. Okay. Great. Great. Who do I have left? Deja, can you speak? Julie, can you speak? Oh, Deja, go ahead. Go ahead, Deja.
I left my notebook at my house, but I think it was like 180 that it
Okay.
came, which is more than what I had mentioned to you before, but when we broke it down, that's what I ended up.
Yes. Okay. And the phone cut out when you said where it was going to come from.
No, I said I left my notebook where I wrote everything
Oh,
down.
wait. Okay, okay. But you'll have it when next time we speak.
Yes.
But it's interesting, I think, when you look and you're like, oh, well, I could get this here and I could get this here and I could get this here. So that's really, really good. Why not more? Okay. Julie, what did you come up with?
Hi there. So these are dreamy numbers, but one small donor is 56K, major donors 200K, foundations 300K, corporate sponsorship 500K. Again, dreamy numbers. Special events, question mark 20K to 100K, grants 5 to 12K.
Where do you live, Julie?
I am in the Bay Area, California.
But where exactly?
Berkeley, California.
Oh, Berkeley. Okay. Oh, that's right. You were on the Berkeley Film Foundation board. Yes, yes, yes. That's great. Who have I left out? Jimmy, can you speak?
Yes, I can.
Yes. What's your number?
So, I mean, I just put numbers. So they're just numbers I put. I have a fundraising person working with helping me, so I'm gonna leave it to them. I put small independent donors 100,000, major donors 100,000, grant foundations, which I've subsumed grants into that 500,000, corporate sponsors, and I also have subsumed special events into under that 500,000. So special events, nothing. Grant standalone, nothing. Plan giving, nothing there. And I also had direct sales of merch, so t-shirts, journals, and just all kinds of things like that for 30,000. So that's 1,230,000.
Woohoo! That's awesome. I was waiting for the word million. That's great. That's excellent. So the thing about fundraising is that you know, when I was a full-time fundraiser, I would buy all the latest books. I would go to the fundraising conferences. I would spend hundreds of dollars on these huge books. And fundraising is I mean, there's a lot of sophistication in a lot of different areas of fundraising. You know, when I would work for a company, nonprofits, and I was what was called a one-stop development shop. I was non-stop, but one-stop development shop. And so I would deal with all of the different types of fundraising. And I worked for nonprofits that were like $2 to $3 million. And above $3 million or so, you start to have multiple full-time staff, right? So you would have a specialist in corporate sponsorship and a specialist in foundations and a specialist in grant writing. My specialty is grant writing. One organization I raised about $2 million just sitting at a computer and, you know, writing proposals. And so, you know, once you get to a bigger organization, then you get to the biggest of all the nonprofits, which are universities and hospitals, and they have full-time staff. They have multiple people in each of the departments, each of the 7 departments. And then they have other departments that just do prospecting, which is just doing research, just finding potential donors, just doing background information. So fundraising can become a very, 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 very sophisticated endeavor, raising millions and millions and millions of dollars. Just in the last year or so, I started doing a new program. I'm calling it the Virtual Fundraising Team, where I bring on a team of people who are specialists and we work on fundraising. And last year, for one of my clients, they were a $1.2 million organization. And I worked with them for 3 months, and we raised, oh, that's so funny, I've forgotten the number. A lot of money. I know we set a goal of 400,000, and they were like, I was like, I think we can increase our income by 400,000 this year. And they were like, really? Okay. And then in 3 months, we raised, oh, that's right, we raised $2.2 million.
Wow.
And it was really about, they were presenting themselves in a way that was really very small compared to what they actually were doing. When you talk to them about what they were doing, what they said was different from how they presented, you know. So that was a really great experience. So I've started doing that. But for all of you, the thing that I really want to communicate when I talk about all these different ways of fundraising is that what I saw when I was a consultant and doing nonprofit fundraising for nonprofits is that it was very common that I would go into a nonprofit and they would be focused on 1 or maybe 2 ways of fundraising. But the truth is that there are all these other ways of fundraising. And what I see out there with documentary filmmakers is that they focus on documentary film grants, which is one small piece of grants as a whole. And all the documentary filmmakers are trying for this one pot of money. And there are all these other pots of money. And then the ones who are successful and actually get a grant are not taking that grant and leveraging it to raise money in all the other areas, you know. So it's just really fantastic to, I call it broadening your portfolio, diversifying your portfolio, you know, that there is not only one way to raise money, there are other ways to raise money. So in the last few minutes, I just want to go to the number 5 of our 5 surefire ways to grow our filmmaking career. If I can find it, let's see. So the number 5, oh, we've already done it. Okay, so number 5, the number 5 surefire way to grow your filmmaking career next year is to set your financial goals. So we've actually done it. Yay! We have done it. So number 4 was to define your filmmaking goals, and then number 5 was to define your film financial goals. And what I see with filmmakers is this is the one that they miss out. This is the one they don't spend time thinking about. And as I had said earlier, they tend to, filmmakers tend to, they miss this one, they skip this setting the financial goals. I shared this slide earlier. Many filmmakers do not have a business plan or a plan to scale their filmmaking. They get too wrapped up in the creativity, and their passion leads them astray. It's actually what sends filmmakers in the wrong direction, because they'll end up doing something like, well, you know, this story is so important, I have to spend my own money and my husband's money, Anita. So by setting your financial goals, and then the other thing that I talk about is how, do I have a piece of paper? I'm going to do a very big show and tell here. Anybody who's been in a class with me knows that I make the most fabulous materials. So this is my show and tell. So what we just did, setting our filmmaking fundraising goals for 2023, was we did our film financial goals. Okay. Over here, however, and I think Mark was the one, well, Jimmy as well, but Mark said, you know, but this is how much I want to earn for myself. Right. So this is the income from the film, and then this is other income. So now some of you, this income on this side comes from, Deja was saying, she has clients, she makes films for clients, she's making her money here, and she wants to end up all her income coming over here. Some others of you are working in the industry. Mark was mentioning he wants to have more clients in 2023. Some of you have jobs that are not in the industry. So, you know, this can come here, and then maybe you want to, maybe you're making 70,000 from, I don't know, working at Starbucks. Did they pay 70,000 if you work at Starbucks? I don't know. Anyway, you're making $70,000 in a job, but then maybe you could start this 2023, you could bring in 10,000 from making a film for somebody. Right? So this is the income for your films, and then this is the other income. And I remember I had a client one time, and he was working on a fiction film and a documentary. And one day I said, I think it was probably, maybe you could go to this organization and join and get a fiscal sponsorship for the documentary. And he said, is there a cost? And I said, yes. And I said, it's about $100. And he said, oh, I don't have $100. I said, what? He said, well, when I started working with you, I quit my job. I said, I never told you to quit your job. And it was a part-time job. It was a writing job. It was nothing that he hated. He just decided in his head that because he was going to work with me and work on this, that he should quit his job. And I was like, oh, hell no. So he said, oh, okay. He hung up the phone. He got his job back. It wasn't something huge. It was something like $500 a week. But I didn't want somebody to be in a position where they couldn't go and spend $100, you know? So this side is important as well, because you want to be able to pay the bills. And to me, this is not very important what this is. But what happens with a lot of my clients, I had a client who, she was living on her savings and on her credit cards when she started working with me. And she didn't know what her monthly bills were. So I asked her what her monthly bills were. She said $3,500. So we worked together and we raised money for the film. But on this side, by the time she finished working with me, she was making $6,500 a month and was signing contracts to make $100,000 client projects, right? So whatever is over here, what I like to see for my clients is how do we make more? So if you're earning 70,000 at Starbucks, how do we make that 80? How do we make that 90? Right? How do we add in there making some money from film? So anyway, you get my fabulous materials here. So you can go through the same exercise that we did for your film financial goals and add in income that you can make. You know, I just, my car's at the mechanic, so I'm getting lifts, you know, and this Lyft driver said to me, well, you know, I'm driving for Lyft, but then my other job is I'm a graphic designer, you know, so whatever you can do to increase this income will impact your film financial goals, because you'll have more time to work on your film financial goals. And then what that client I gave the example, she was at 3,500. You know, what we're doing is increasing her income over here so she can spend more time over here. Right. So it all works together. So our time has come to an end, and I have enjoyed this class tremendously, just tremendously. It's really been super fun. You've all been great. And as always, you know, I would love to talk to you about working together. I'd love to help you achieve your financial goals, whether it's on the film side or on the other side, because I work on whatever. But I'm always just like, how do we get more money? How do we get more money? How do we get more money? So I would love to talk to you about working together. And the way that we do that is we set up a filmmaker success breakthrough session. Sorry, and a filmmaker success breakthrough session, and we just talk about, you know, if we think that we would have it. To me, the most important thing is if we would have fun working together and work on raising money and getting your film completed. I work closely with several distribution companies and sales agents. So I also help my filmmaker clients get distribution for their films. And in a way, it's partly how to improve the filmmaking. Once you know that you have distribution for your film, then we can work backwards, and people are more excited to either give money or invest in your films when they know that you have distribution. So I work on that a lot. I just got 2 contracts this week. I was on the jury of the Brazilian Film Festival in Miami recently, and I met this very, very, like they've been a production company for 40 years, and they had made this series, and they told me, I said, oh, that sounds great. Where are we going to be able to see it? And they said, oh, we don't know how to sell it. I was like, oh my God. So I just saw the contract for the series and for 2 feature films that they made that they didn't have distribution for. So I helped them with that. But mostly I just work with my clients on distribution and fundraising and sales and all of that good stuff to get money into your pockets. And however we can do that. Driving for Lyft is totally acceptable. So I just want to thank you all for coming. Everybody has just participated so much and made it so much fun to teach. So
hi, John. One second. My
yes.
the figure I gave you was just like plan B, just in case.
Okay. I like your other number. I think you can do the other number, but that's fine. Whatever you want.
The first one.
300. The 300.
Oh, okay. That'll be nice.
Thanks for a great class.
Let's end with one takeaway. Let's have everybody give us one takeaway from our deep dive into 2023.
Plan your financial goals.
Nice. Yes. Who else?
Roadmap. Roadmap.
Nice. Lori D.
Pyramid.
Oh,
I like that clicks in my brain. Thanks.
Interesting. You know, I could teach a whole class on that, and I just mentioned it in passing, so it's great that you picked it up.
I missed what she said. What did she say?
The pyramid.
Oh. Mhm.
Yes, yes, the pyramid. Who else? John Mark.
It's possible and will happen.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right.
Scaling fundraising infrastructure.
Excellent, excellent.
Building a network of people for potential donors.
Ooh, yes, very nice, very nice. These are great. Stephen, what's your takeaway?
I think now it is a new roadmap. You know,
Great, great.
learning the business.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Julie.
Thank you so much for all the encouragement, changing fantasy thinking to reality thinking, turning the fantasy into reality.
Love it, love it. Kramana.
Have fun with it and keep going and things will happen.
Great, great. Did I miss anybody? Deja, can you speak? She's picking up kids and things. So, well, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Emily, for keeping us all together. What's your takeaway, Emily?
I really liked what Jean Marc said about it's all possible, you know, taking what you think is impossible to make it's possible and just do it.
Yes.
That's my takeaway.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Would you be amenable to sharing our email addresses in a group send out?
Why don't you share them in the chat, Anita? Share your email in the chat.
Yes, I did, but I didn't get everyone else's.
And I don't have to ask for permission. You can just share them in the chat if you want to. So thank you everybody for being here and your attention. You really have been a fabulous, fabulous group, and I really appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking to you. My clients, I'll be seeing you all next week. And everybody else, I look forward to having a conversation with you about working together, which I would love to do now that I know you a bit and know a bit about your projects. So we'll be signing off, and have a fabulous, fabulous weekend, and take care of yourselves. Go raise some money, make some movies.